Hey everyone, welcome to our 80K Woman Lunch and Learn. I'm super glad that you're here. Whether you're joining us live or you're catching the replay, you showing up for yourself like this, choosing to learn something new, that's what this community is all about. So thank you. We created 80K Woman because we believe that when women gather, when we share, when we lift one another up, magic happens. And today is no exception to that. So, our topic today is one that I know so many of you have been curious about. It's really like a buzzword in the business community. It's podcasting. Maybe you've thought about starting one yourself or being a guest on one. Or maybe you're just wondering, what's the big deal about podcasts anyway, right? But here's the truth. Podcasting is one of the most powerful tools out there for sharing your voice, your story, your message. It allows you to reach people, to build a community, and position yourself as a thought leader in your space, all from your own kitchen table, if that's all you have and that's all you want. And there's nobody better to help us navigate this than my friend, our co-founder, Mindy Odlin. Mindy is not just a brilliant speaker and coach, she's also an experienced podcaster who knows exactly what it takes to launch, to grow, and to use a podcast as a way to build your brand, your business, or even just your confidence. So she's here today to demystify that process for all of us and help you see that podcasting isn't just for celebrities or influencers, it's for anyone with something to say. And trust me, you've got something to say. So come join us, grab a notebook, and get ready to be inspired as we dive into podcasting with Mindy. So take it away, Mindy.
Thank you, Leanne. And you are so right. I love podcasting because it is so accessible. It is something that anybody can do. My intent with this session is to give you some of the reasons why podcasting is a great tool, and to give you an opportunity to see if it's the right tool for you. Because even though it is uh, wonderfully accessible for people, it does take some time. And depending on what you want to do, it's good to know upfront what's your capacity and what's the return on that for the investment you put in. So my intent is for you to learn about what is this thing so you can decide, is it something that I want to take on? Because it is, it's a big deal to have a podcast and it can open a lot of doors, but you have to have capacity to take it on. So anyway, I am gonna share my screen really quick because I have this is like you said, Leanne, get a journal, get your notebook because I am going to share. I'm going to be the fire hose of information for today. So I'm going to let's see if I can share my screen. I thought I was going to share Canva. Can you see my Canva, Leanne? You seeing that all right? Okay, so
Yes.
I am going to share this, and I'm going to just see if I can hit this whole presentation. Does that look okay, Leanne? Are you
Yes. Yep.
okay? Great, 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 great. So. Yes, if you're here, you're probably curious about podcasting. Maybe you already have a podcast. Maybe you've podcast before and you're wondering like what's new or how can I promote it? Or maybe you're just trying to figure out, is this something that I want to do? You are in the right place. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start out just talking about why would you want to do this? What is this thing and why? How to get started, getting ready to do your first episode, and then I'll share with you some tips, some resources for publishing, for promoting, and then you'll have some time to ask some questions, and we'll have an open discussion. I also want to let you know, as members of 80K Woman, we are having a follow-up roundtable discussion for those of you who want to like pitch your ideas and get some feedback specifically on what you are thinking. That's coming up next week. So go into our events at 80K Woman and you will get all the details on how you can join me live and in person for a lunch date and we can talk about you and what you're thinking. So that's where we're heading for this. So my name is Mindy Odlin. In addition to being the co-founder of 80K Woman, I have a background in radio. So I have a degree in broadcast journalism and I went to college and I worked at the radio station. I was operations director of my college station. I was a disc jockey in classic rock, oldies, easy listening, jazz, classical music. I've done a lot of different things in radio. And then that radio background and the technology behind it led me into digital television production when I was working for a training company. So I've been behind the scenes, I've been in front of the microphone, I've done all of those different things. Back in like it was 1998, 1999, I was a speaker on the college market. And to promote my business, I started an online radio show called College Life 101. That was my first entrance into the world of what is now podcasting. So I literally have been podcasting since the days when it was called internet radio. So a long time. And in that time, I have done some of my own podcasts. I've also helped over 30 different shows launch, and one of them we actually created an entire podcasting network for a spiritual organization where I hosted a show called The Leading Edge. We reached in a very short amount of time, we were getting 100,000 downloads a month and had listeners in 63 countries. And it opened all kinds of amazing doors for me to interview some of my heroes and sheroes and best-selling authors. And, I got to sit down with Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle and Joe Dispenza and some people that you might not know who those people are, but to me, they were just like high up on a pedestal, and I got to spend time with them. I got to spend an hour with them interviewing them because I had a podcast, or back then, an internet radio show. So, anyway, it is a wonderful way to open doors. It's a great way to show up as a leader, to build a platform. And now, today, it is easier than it has ever been. So that's a little bit about my background. I've done this a lot and I've seen it morph through the years. So why would you want to do it? I really think this is the most important question you can ask yourself when you're just getting started is why do you want to do this? And there's lots of valid reasons to host a podcast. Maybe it's you just want to, you think it'd be fun. I know there's a lot of hobby podcasts out there where it's like, I was looking at North Country podcasts and I found a couple guys who just like talking sports. And so they made that a podcast and, guys in the North Country just, on their phone, like talking about sports, and then you post it and it's a podcast. So you can take something you're just interested in and that you think would be fun. And podcasting is a great way to explore those hobbies and to make yourself an expert. Sometimes those shows, take on a life of their own and become a business. But even if you don't want it to be that, it's a great platform for just kind of having some fun, exploring something that maybe you want to learn more about. It's also a great platform for if you want to grow your audience. I use it now because I love I love how easy it is to create content. So I like to produce a podcast episode, kind of like what you're watching now, where I can do a long form video that is the full episode, but then I can pull out all of these shorts or reels that I can use to promote the podcast or to promote my speaking or my training or whatever that might be. So you can use it as a promotional way to grow your platform. Some people will, maybe your why is you want to actually be a full-time podcast producer and you want to grow it into a show that has sponsors, and maybe you want to promote your product or your service, and this is a way to get your product and service in front of people. It is a fantastic way to build relationship with potential customers. It is fantastic for that. So if you have, especially if you have a higher ticket item, and you're looking for ways to introduce it to people, a podcast is a great way to do that. You can also just create a niche podcast and use affiliate links and monetize it that way. So if you're wanting to monetize your platform or monetize your podcast, that's really good to know upfront. Create that monetization strategy, but know that you don't have to monetize it. You can just put it out there and have some fun with it, or use it to grow your social media. So those are some of the reasons why people start a podcast. And here's a few stats that I think are kind of fun. These are from 2024, so fairly recent. As of 2024, over 464 million people are listening to podcasts. So this is it's pretty established these days. 42% of adults, and that's age 12 and over, listen to podcasts monthly. And 62% of those listeners say that they have actually taken action on something that was recommended or advertised during a podcast. So podcast listeners, one of the things I love about podcasting is you don't have to have millions of listeners to have a really effective marketing channel through your podcast. You can have a really small listener base, but if that listener base is engaged, you can have a really good marketing channel for your products and services. I also know that women are almost half of podcast listeners, and right now, the trend is women are really like the trend is growing in terms of lifestyle businesses, wellness businesses, business and self-improvement. So if you are reaching women, that's a great some content ideas. Like how would I want to niche my content? The average podcast listener subscribes to 7 shows and listens to 8 episodes a week. So there's a fun fact. So people who listen to podcasts are pretty regular with it. So I'd love to hear from you. Like, what do you listen to? Post it in the chat. What are your favorite podcasts? That way you can share with each other. What do you listen to? And then think about, why do you tune in? Is it for entertainment? Is it to get information? I know I have my favorites when I'm road tripping. I love my Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. I love my Moth Story Hour. I love my TEDx podcasts that I have. Those are 3 that I listen to a lot when I'm on road trips and I just need to pass some time and be entertained. But I also have the podcasts that I love to listen to that are around niche content. When I first started podcasting, for example, I subscribed to a podcast. It's called Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn, who at the time he was just doing podcasting. Now he's doing other ways of generating passive income. But you can find really niche content. I have a podcast I listen to from Chalene Johnson, who works with women who are of a certain age. Like once you're over 50, like her content is really relevant to women at this particular stage in life. So think about the podcasts that you like to listen to and why do you listen to them? And what is the information they're putting out there? I also noticed I was searching today to see who's podcasting in the North Country and who's podcasting about the North Country. I actually found a North Country history podcast with Rob Berg. So if you want to learn more about North Country history, every episode was just focused on a different thing, historical aspect of life in the North Country. So it can be a big broad topic or it can be a little niche. I have found sometimes it's easier to promote the niche. The more specific the niche is, the easier it is for people, especially when you're just getting started, to connect with you and to know that that's something that they want to listen to. So that's the first thing to think about is, why are you wanting to podcast? And I would recommend in your journal, take a moment and write that down. So take some time between now and when we have lunch next week and get really clear on what are you hoping to accomplish? Are you hoping to grow your brand? Are you hoping to expand your social media? Are you hoping to monetize it? Or are you just looking to have some fun? All of those are valid reasons to have a podcast. So what is your why? Get really clear on that. It's going to help a ton. Okay, so now let's get into the basics. So these are the things to think about as you start, contemplating what would I want my podcast to look like. So first of all, I want to dispel a myth. I think a lot of people, when we hear podcasting, we're thinking audio. And audio podcasting is still very much alive. It's very much a thing. What is quickly becoming equal to audio podcasting, and it may have even surpassed it at this point, is video podcasting. I love video podcasting because you can extract the audio and now you have both. But if you just want something simple, you just want to talk into your phone, you can do an audio podcast, and that is the simplest form of a podcast and absolutely valid. There's lots of people that listen audio only. So I like video in part because, and this may surprise you as well, the place where most people find their podcasts. Do you know what this is? I'll give you a second to think about it. Where do most people go to find podcasts? It's not Spotify. Actually, today, YouTube is the #1 place where people go to watch or listen to podcasts. Now, YouTube is a video platform. So if you have audio, you just put a still graphic on it and boom, you've got a YouTube video. And you can actually create those videos as a podcast people can subscribe to inside of YouTube. And that is where most people go. It's got the greatest audience for podcasting. So think about, do you want to do an audio podcast? Do you want to do a video podcast? And then what is the style? What is the format? So I put a few here. So maybe you want to do a solo podcast. A solo podcast would be like, I'm the expert, and every week I'm going to teach you about finances, or I'm going to teach you about being a woman in business in the North Country. So it's just me talking. I'm the expert, and I'm hosting this, and I'm going to share with you content. I subscribe to Brendan Burchard is a s- small business influencer business guru, and he has a podcast that I enjoy listening to. And every time it's just him, and he's just teaching something. So you could do that. Like this is me sharing my expertise. Or maybe you want to do an interview. An interview is, it's kind of like what we're doing here on Zoom. So Leanne introduces me and then I get to give content, and you can have people come in and you can interview them for their expertise. I love the interview format because it's a great way to collaborate. When I've done this in the past, when I did my first really big podcast, again, internet radio became podcast. It was called The Leading Edge. And every week I would interview a different uh, I don't know what you call it, personal development, spiritual development guru. So it was kind of like Oprah Soul Series before Oprah Soul Series began. I called it the leading edge. And because I was interviewing these big name people like Neil Donald Walsh and these big best-selling authors, we would have our template where we would say, hey, I'm going to interview you. We're going to promote you to our entire email list that you're our guest. And what we would like you to do is let all of your people on your email list know that you're going to be on the show, or put the recording in there and let them find you on our show. We're going to spotlight you. So it was a really great way to grow the program exponentially because it wasn't just me talking and sharing spiritual wisdom. It was me bringing people in and then sort of multiplying the platform. If you think about someone like Oprah, Oprah could share some wisdom, right? She could, but she doesn't. She interviews other people, and she's the one we all think of when we think about, this big platform. It's because she interviews other people. So that's another way you can go about it. Panels are fun. I've been a guest on panels where people host a podcast and it's multiple people sharing, and we come together and talk about a particular topic. So those can be kind of fun. Or storytelling. Storytelling, I think about if you listen to NCPR and some of the storytelling journalism, it's basically it's a little more polished, it's a little more produced, but you can go interview people, you can interject your own ideas, and you create this very polished package. Now, depending on how much time you want to put into this, pick something that fits what you have the capacity to do. You can do a Zoom interview like this, pop it up into your podcasting hosting platform, and boom, you've got a podcast. Or you can go in much more detail. So think about that. Think about how frequently you want that podcast to go live. How often do you want it to land, and how long do you want your episodes to be? The trend has been shorter and shorter. So you can do long form, you can do short form, you can do a 3-minute podcast, you can do a 90-second podcast. So think about how long you want your episodes to be and then plan it out. Typically, in a podcast, you think about episodes, you think about seasons. I would suggest when you're getting started, start with one season in mind. And maybe you decide, hey, I want to do 10 episodes or a 13 episode season, and map it out like a table of contents. These are the topics I want to cover in those 13 episodes. So think about, do you want to do a season, or do you just want to go, 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 go? Some people do that too. When you're getting started, I recommend the season. And then figure out, how do you want the show to flow? What is your show format? So maybe it's, I'm going to do an opening teaser, and then I'm going to have a little intro song, and then I'm going to introduce my guest, or whatever it is. Think through what you want that format to be and how you want your content to be structured. So those are some things you can think about in your planning, and that will help you decide, how much time it's going to take, how much equipment you need to get, all those types of things. What platforms you need for hosting once you have all these in place. It'll also help you decide how you want to market. So, and if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. and I will come at the end. I want to make sure I get all this in because there's so much information to share. I will get to all your questions at the end, and I will stay until I've answered them all. So, um, all right. So let's see what else. More basics. So, what do you want to name your podcast? So, something to think about. Think about something that is clear, that clearly describes what your podcast is. It's great if it's clever, but it's more important that it's clear. Then think about, how do you want to produce it? Are you going to do video? Are you going to do audio? What do you need for that? And then hosting is basically where do you upload that content so that people can subscribe to it? And I'll share some more information about that. But these are some things to think about as you get started. All right, let me see. I've got all kinds of tips here. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yeah, in terms of producing, I just want to share in terms of equipment, that's one of the biggest things people ask me is what do I need? And there's sort of this feeling like I need to have this radio station type production studio, and that is not the case anymore. So I'm going to share with you what I use. There's tons of options. If you want other ideas, I highly recommend getting your Chat GPT saying, here's what I'm looking for, here's the budget I have, here's how much quality I want, and get some recommendations. I use a Yeti microphone, which I'm actually not using right now. So this is not my Yeti because I don't have my headphones on. I didn't want to wear headphones, but I have my Audio Technica headphones, my Yeti microphone, and my desktop or my iPhone. And those are the tools that I use more than anything. I'm actually in a room that my daughter has set up to do her podcast. She has a YouTube channel, and so this is all branded to her Explore More challenge. But originally, this room was my podcasting room, and I had an extra room. I painted the walls a solid green. One, because it provided some contrast with me. I didn't want a white wall. And two, I could green screen it really easily. I also, when I first moved into this room, there wasn't so much stuff in it. Now I've got furniture and plants and all that. But when I was just podcasting, it was very echoey. So one of the things I was out one day and one of the motels in town was they were giving away all their old pillows because they were getting new pillows. So I took like about 30 pillows and I tacked them up to the ceiling to make my room less echoey. Now, you don't need to do that. That was just 'cause I had a very echoey room, but it worked really well, and I didn't spend a dollar on creating a sound studio. So if you want to get the sound foam and all that kind of stuff, you absolutely can do that. Now I typically use just my room, and I do any cleanup in post-production because AI has gotten so good at removing background noises and that kind of thing. So those are some tips on producing and for hosting. And I'll share these resources. I'll put them together into a single page. So if you go into our event archives, we're going to load this into our video events, and I'll put a one pager in there that has not only what I use. I'll put some affiliate links in there as well, so that if you want to like support 80K Woman, just click on those links if that's what you want to get. But there are lots of options. But I'll share with you what I have. For hosting, I use Kajabi, which is actually my website provider, but they also do podcasts. So if you know that you want your podcast to be part of a website and maybe you want to build a community, an online community around it, or maybe you want to have coaching services as part of it, Kajabi is sort of an all-in-one for email and all that kind of thing. So I already had Kajabi. It made sense for me to put my podcast there. There are others. You can use Spotify for creators. It is free, but Spotify then owns your podcast and it's a little harder to custom brand it. So if you see a free option, always be a little suspicious because they're going to get paid somehow and you want to know how they're getting monetized so that you're knowing what you're signing up for. It's nice to set it up right the first time. I've also used a service called Libsyn, Libsyn, which you can use. It's like when I did it, it was like $5 a month. And that is where you load your audio files and then it sends it out to wherever you want it sent. So that's a bit about hosting. Okay. How much time is it going to take? This is a huge thing to consider. Because what's so important when you're podcasting is that you are consistent. So it's great to say, hey, I want to post something every week, But if you don't have time to do it every week, you would do far better to do something once a month and have that be consistent. So when I first started my leading edge program, I would one take time to schedule my guests. So there's some back and forth. Are you available? Which date? Getting them plugged in. Here's the promotional email you can send out to your people. So we did all that scheduling piece, which took a few hours for each guest. Then I would prepare. And for me, I was interviewing authors and celebrities. So they would send me their book. I got tons of free books, which was fantastic. And I would read them cover to cover. I never interviewed somebody that I didn't fully read their book. And that took some time. And then I would also then take that book and then create questions from it. So that took time. I spent probably a day in prep. And then the actual production went fast. It was an hour-long show. It would fly by. But then there's the post-production. And do you want to put in some music, or do you want to clean it up a little bit? Do you want to take the ums and ahs out? You don't have to do that, but if you want to do that, just factor in that time for post production. And then also make sure you factor in time for actually promoting your podcast. It's not enough just to put it out there and think people are going to find it. Although, if you optimize your title well with keywords and things like that, some people will find it. But ultimately, the best way to promote your podcast is, use your social media, promote it through an email list, create a promotion strategy, and that takes some time as well. So you don't have to be it doesn't have to take days and days. It doesn't have to be your full-time job. You can do this in a much shorter fashion. If you don't want to have guests, then you can skip that whole scheduling thing. If you don't want to, if you just want to go to your phone and say, hey, this is Mindy, and this is episode 1, and this is my podcast, and this is what it's about, I can hit stop on that recording, I can load it, and I can just be done. So I don't have to do post-production. I can just let it be what it is. But think about what you want it to be. And if you want to do it yourself, or if you want to outsource it, there's lots of outsourcing opportunities as well. My favorite outsourcing resource, here's a hot tip, is called onlinejobs.ph. It is for virtual assistants in the Philippines, and they are incredibly talented. I found some really great people there. You do have to have some trial and error, but it is a good place to find people who can help you with scheduling, with emails, with post-production, with social media. So that's one of my favorite resources for outsourcing. Okay, how are we doing? Take a deep breath. I know I'm just like giving you so much information. I have some of you I know are coming to the round table and are watching the archives in this, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give you the download on this, and then we'll get together and we'll talk about like your idea and how can we work it so it works with your lifestyle. Got it? It's important. All right, so people ask me about gear all the time. Like I said, you need some headphones, you need a mic, maybe you need your phone generally is good enough. You don't need a fancy camera. I mean, there's no limit to how fancy you can get, but you can literally start with your phone or on a Zoom link. Zoom is great. Use your computer. So think about what you want and what service providers you might use. And so I'm going to share a few of mine. Here's one of my favorites, and I use this now these when I do my podcast. So I have an online community. It's a membership oriented community, and I every week go into my community and I do a live stream, and I take requests of, how can I coach you from my community, and I do it as a 12-minute live stream every week. I take that 12-minute live stream and I put it into my YouTube channel as a podcast. And then I take that 12 minutes and then I pull from it shorts that I then use to grow my channel. And the shorts actually get a lot more views than the long form, but the long form is what I use for the podcast. So it all kind of works together. So those are some strategies that might give you some ideas. I do that on a service called Riverside FM. It's kind of like Zoom, but it's a little higher quality for podcasting. It lets you do more in terms of bringing your logo in, doing a lower third where you can have a guest and you can put your name and their name. Looks a little more polished. The other thing that I love about it is you can stream it to multiple platforms, and when it's done, it will automatically you can do a smart AI edit on that, on the whole thing, and it will automatically remove your ums, remove your pauses. It'll truncate it if you had sort of an awkward start. And it will also let you go in and you can edit your video. This is mind blowing. You can edit your video as if you're editing a Word document. So it'll transcribe your video, and I can say, "Ooh, I don't like that sentence," or "That was not necessary." I can highlight that, hit delete, and it edits the video. So which is, I know, I used to spend hours and hours doing this thing that I can now do in seconds. So this whole podcasting world has gotten so much easier thanks to AI and thanks to the technology. Riverside FM also allows you to upload your video and then it'll pull the shorts for you. So I can go in and say, "Here's my video," or I do it live and it grabs it and then it'll pull out, 3 different clips, 5 different clips that are all shorts that it has found from your gems, and it will put it together as a suggested short. And you can go in and edit that, add your captions. It's super crazy easy. So come to lunch with me and I will bring my computer. I'll show you how it works. I'll also put a link in the resources for this so that you can check that out. But that's probably my favorite resource that I found. Okay, what other resources? I mean, there's lots of things you can use. GarageBand, use your chat GPT to see what resource works best for you for the technology that you have. I'm on a Mac, so I've also used GarageBand in the past, but there's lots of options, and ChatGPT can help you with that. All right, so let's talk about your first episode. Woohoo! It's time to get started. First episode. Your first episode is typically an introduction to your podcast. And it's a really good thing to do because it's going to force you to think about, why would people want to listen to your episode? So when you're planning that first episode, think about, are you going to have a script, or are you just going to have some notes? What are you going to use for your set? Where do you want to be? And do you want to have any guests? Do you need to schedule any guests? Chat GPT is fantastic for generating show ideas. So you could say, "Hey, I'm working on a podcast concept. Here's the title. Here's what I want it to be about. Can you generate some ideas for episodes for this series?" Like I said, Riverside FM for interviews and editing, CapCut if you're doing short form, um, outsource your editing. That's onlinejobs.ph. And also remember, you can't just go use any song that you want. If you use something that's hot on the radio and you put it on a platform that doesn't have the rights to that, then your entire episode will get blocked. So make sure you're using royalty-free music, and I can share some resources for that as well. In terms of taking that finished content, YouTube is great, Spotify is great, Apple Podcasts, still people listening, and all these different platforms. So it's just a matter of choosing the ones that you want to upload to. And once you've done the work of editing, really you can get a service. The way you do this, you get a service like Libsyn or like Kajabi, or it's a hosting platform. And then you just tell that you load it in one place, and then that place is going to send it out to all of these different podcasting apps. And that's true of most of them. YouTube is an exception. For YouTube, you have to just go into YouTube and load it to YouTube. Okay. I know this is a lot of information, so you can watch this in slow-mo if you need to. But I want to give you like a really full sense of how you can get started. I also want to say, with your first episode, don't do one episode and then launch. Create at least 3 episodes and then launch it. And the reason for that is when people decide if they want to subscribe to your podcast, if they listen to one and they like it, they will more likely go binge a bit and they want to hear other podcasts. So if you just have one and they're like, "Ooh, I like that. Do I want to subscribe?" And they're like, "Oh, there's nothing else to subscribe to." But if you have 3, it gives them a reason to see, okay, here's the flavor of this, and there are ongoing episodes, and I do want to subscribe. So I would say record your first 3, drip them out one after another based on whatever strategy you have, monthly, weekly, whatever that is. And then after your third one drops, then do your big launch and say, "Hey, everybody, I've got a podcast." And that'll help you get more subscribes. All right, so that's your first episode. What else? Publishing and promoting. So we've talked about this a bit. There's some hosting platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Libsyn, Kajabi are the ones that I like. Think about how you want to promote it. Are you going to promote it through your social media? Do you have an email list? Email lists are great ways to promote your content. Maybe you're going to do a collaboration with your guests. So you have an email list that you're promoting to, and your guest has an email list that they're promoting to. And and also if you have a membership community, it's nice to drop that into your community. And with a membership community, it's a really good way to build engagement. So maybe you have a podcast and you want to build an entire community around that podcast so that each time you have a new episode, you can get discussion going inside your community. Or when you're thinking of putting together an episode, you could go to your community and say, here's what next week's podcast is about. Share your ideas in advance, and you can then take that content and put it into your podcast. So I love having membership communities. You can pay for those, you have paid communities, or you can just have it be like a free Facebook group. It would be super simple. So that is a bit on publishing and thinking about your promotion strategy. So with that, I'm going to open it up and see if you have any questions. I'm just going to scan through and see if I'm missing any of these hot tips that I wanted to share with you. But think about if you have any questions that I can help you with, or again, we have a roundtable discussion next week in Saranac Lake. If you would like to join me, you can actually like pitch your idea and see what you think about it. And really, Leanne, I know I'm going to stop sharing here, but if I think with our network here with 80K Woman, oh, you can say hi to the dog there. There's one you take.
Oh, oh,
So with 80K Woman, if you are looking for a platform or some help, I think that could be something that we could do through 80K Woman is to have our own podcasting network. And in doing that, to have a place where you could host and have some support in, you film it, you put it together, and then we can host it and help you with that piece. So just that idea as I'm putting this together, I'm like, oh, why not? Why not be a
yeah,
place for a
yeah.
podcast for women in the
I,
enterprise?
I mean, I think this was just excellent. It was so good. I really appreciate all the tips that you shared, and I think that the more of our network that hears about podcasting and how it can really build strength in who you are as a brand, no matter what profession you're in, right? I think that there's so much potential there. So I really think we're going to get lots of people interested in podcasting and working with us. And like you said, we want to help women in the area we want, everyone's got such a great, powerful voice, right? And we
Yeah.
want to give people the ability to share it.
Yeah. It is
So
a great way to elevate your brand, and it really does open doors. It is so amazing when you call someone up and say, "Hey, I host a podcast called blah blah blah, and I'm wondering if
right,
you'd be my guest.
right.
Could you come for 10 minutes or for 30 minutes or for an hour?" People will, not everybody, but people will say yes, and you will be shocked at who will say yes to an
Well,
invitation like that.
and I've been podcasting now for well over a year, with a dear friend out on the West Coast, and our podcast is called Open for Hire, if anyone's
Hmm.
interested. But anyway, I've gotten clients from it.
Hmm.
People who have followed me on Facebook, listened to my podcast, and then reached out and said, after listening to you, I really want to work with you. So
Hmm.
it does create just a great way to market yourself.
It
Absolutely.
is. And it's not pitchy and it's not pushy.
No,
It's
you're just being
delivering
you. Yeah.
value and really serving people in a great way. And as you grow, as you grow, you have the more people that listen, then the more opportunities you have to get sponsors or to monetize, and
Yeah.
all kinds of great opportunities show up. And it's fun. I mean,
It is
I just think
fun.
it's a blast.
It is fun. It's fun. But you've made it the way you have taught us all, you have taken a lot of the intimidation out of
Mm.
it. So I really appreciate it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I love this, this lives in our video archives along with other training videos that are available for 80K women. So spread the word. Tell your
Yeah.
friends that this is a resource that is like we're here to help you with the personal development piece and the professional development piece. And sometimes that's the inner work, and sometimes that's the what do I click on work? Like where do I put my resources, and how can we by being a part of this 80K Woman Network, how do we shorten the learning curve for everybody so that we're not all out there trudging along trying to figure it out on our own, but we can lift each other up. That really is the intention, and it's so much fun when we're able to do that.
Well, thank you, Mindy. Really appreciate all the info you gave us today.
Well, thanks everybody. See you next time.